So with the recent release of the new Python Commandos Warbond for Helldivers 2, I figured I'd make a bit of a tips and tricks video going over all the new weapons and items in the Warbond, and give some tips for some of the changes that was made in the patch notes for the latest update. So I've been working on this video pretty much non-stop since the Warbond released, and I've gotten very little sleep, so if you guys enjoyed today's video, then please consider giving me a thumbs up because it helps me out in the algorithm, and if you're new here, consider hitting that subscribe button and hitting the bell for notifications, that way you don't miss out on any future uploads. But before we get into today's video, I wanted to quickly tell you about today's sponsor, Holtzkern. Now, these guys make watches and jewelry for both men and women, and everything they create is made from natural materials like wood, stone, and gemstones. So every single piece looks slightly different. Nothing is mass-produced, nothing's generic, just high-quality stuff made in small batches, and everything comes with a 2-year guarantee. Now, everything comes packaged in these nice gift boxes, which is perfect if you suck at gift wrapping like I do. So they come in not only this little gift box, but then they're packaged in these wooden boxes as well, and I think they look pretty nice. And I actually wore this exact watch to my brother's wedding just last month, and I really liked how it looked. So I'll throw a couple photos on screen so you can see just how clean it looks when you're wearing it with a suit. And that's not all. They ship worldwide for free from Vienna, and if you're in the US, they've already taken care of the customs fees. So your order will show up in about 5 to 9 business days, and if you order by December 19th, it's guaranteed to arrive before Christmas. So if you want to check them out for yourselves, use the link on screen and use code SWANEE at checkout for 15% off. Now, both the link and the code are required for the discount to work, and so that my channel will get credit, and you can find both the link and the code down in the description and down at the pinned comment. And a big thank you to Holtzkern for sponsoring today's video. So first up, I want to go over some of the changes that took place in the patch notes that was separate from the new Warbond. Starting with the gameplay change where they added the keybind options for quick weapon function. And to do this, you want to go into your options and you want to go to your controller settings or your keybinds and head to the combat tab and scroll all the way to the bottom. Here you will find 4 different options, either for up, down, left, or right, and you can assign any of these to whatever button you like. I will say it is a little bit harder to do on controller though, since you use most of the buttons, and I personally put it on the select button because I play on PC with a controller, so if I want to use the in-game chat, I'll just use the enter button and I'll type with the keyboard, so I don't really need the chat function, so I just replace the chat function with one of these hotkeys. That way, if I'm trying to use the new assault rifle with the grenade launcher, I can quickly swap to it without needing to open up the menu. And with this level of customization, you can hotkey your flashlight, so if you want to turn your flashlight on and off, which is useful for those nighttime missions or those cave missions. You can change your rate of fire with just a push of a button, so that's really useful for weapons like the Stalwart or the heavy machine gun or any of those. You can also change the firing type on things like the autocannon or the recoilless rifle. And this is also a really useful feature for those of you that want to toggle your zoom. So if you have a scope on one of your weapons, you can now easily do it with just the press of a button while in first person. And I gotta say, this is an absolute game changer, and it has made my quality of life just way, way better. Next up, I want to talk about 2 weapon changes that came from the latest update, the M7S SMG, which is the suppressed SMG from the Halo Warbond, and the M6C SOCOM pistol, which is also from the same Warbond. Now, they increased the damage and the durable damage on both of these weapons, and the reason I'm bringing it up is because these are the only suppressed, silenced weapons in the game, so that entire playstyle of trying to be stealthy just got a buff. So for example, if you're trying to use the SOCOM pistol, it will now one-shot kill Devastators if you shoot them in the face, which is a lot better than what it was previously where it took 2 shots. So before this update, you couldn't really be stealthy because if you tried to take out a Devastator, the first shot would just bounce off of their face and it would alert everybody, and then, your cover's blown. So now with this change, you can just very quickly and easily one-tap a Devastator and then keep on sticking to the shadows. So if you're a fan of stealth gameplay and sneaking around the battlefield, it is easier to do so now with this latest update. Another weapon change that stood out to me was the VG70 variable, because they increased the durable damage from 20 to 23. Now, just looking at this, it doesn't seem like it'd be that big of a deal, but now when you're using the total mode, you can pretty reliably kill flesh mobs in just one shot. Since they made the changes to the flesh mobs so that their faces are weak points, if you just shoot one of the faces with total mode, that's normally enough to kill the flesh mob. And sometimes they'll die immediately when you pop them in the face, and then other times it'll take just a couple seconds for them to bleed out, but 9 times out of 10, it takes just one shot to kill a flesh mob, which is a pretty big deal. Same thing goes for shooting charger butts. Before the update, it would normally take 1 to 2 hits, like kind of just depending on your luck. And now after this update, anytime you shoot a charger in the butt, it is pretty much a guaranteed kill. So if you were a fan of the VG70 variable, I think you're going to like this change. Another game changer from the latest update is that they added a medium armored weak spot to the vents on the backside of the bunkers, AA guns, and the mortar emplacements. So if you have any medium armor pin weapon, you can now quickly and reliably take out any of these obstacles in the environment. So if you encounter any of those big automaton cannons, or a tank, or any of those small little turrets that are in the Mega Fortress on Super Helldive, well, now you can pretty easily deal with them. So that does it for some of the things that stood out to me from the latest patch. Now let's get into the actual Python Commandos Warbond, starting with the new push-up emote. Because if you didn't know, there's an Easter egg with the push-up emote. So if you have any regular armor set and you do this new emote, you will just do a regular push-up. But if you have either the new armor set that has the rock solid armor passive or the peak physique armor, you will do one-armed push-ups because, you know, obviously you're stronger and you got to show off those guns. So yeah, it's nothing crazy, but if you didn't know about the Easter egg, well, now you do. So next up, I want to go over the M1000 Maxigun. So you start off with 750 rounds, and if you pick up a regular ammo crate off the ground just in the environment, it will refill 200 of your ammunition. And if you pick up a resupply box, or if you get resupplied from the supply backpack, it will refill you for the full amount of 750 ammunition. Which is nice if you're working in tandem with a teammate that has the supply backpack, because they can continuously feed you ammo and you can just keep on spraying. Another cool thing to do with the Maxigun is to use it when you're in the FRV passenger seats. Now normally the gunner in the back seat is going to be doing the majority of the damage, but with the Maxigun, especially if you have a full squad rocking the Maxigun, I mean, you're basically a portable death machine at that point. And using the Maxigun with the FRV can make for a pretty deadly combination. Another good combination to use with the Maxigun is the FX12 shield generator relay, which is the giant shield bubble. This is great if you want to lock down certain objectives that you're trying to defend. Maybe you're trying to raise the flag for Super Earth. The shield generator will protect you from any ranged attacks while you're safely sitting inside and just mowing through everything. So I highly recommend using the shield generator in tandem with the Maxigun. Another thing I discovered is that if you use the Maxigun with the Grenadier battlement, basically the shield wall that has the grenade launcher, if you're standing, you can hide behind the wall and sort of clip through it, which will provide you with some additional cover. So if you have a teammate that wants to use the mounted grenade launcher, you can also safely hide behind the wall, and it will at least protect your bottom half from getting shot or attacked. This is also a great way from blocking some of those melee units from getting up in your face, so like the Voteless, for example. And it's just a good way to give you some additional cover when you're using the Maxigun. And when you're using the Maxigun, it can be a bit difficult to control the recoil, so if you go crouched or prone, it's going to be a lot easier to manage that recoil. And if you want the Maxigun to be the focus of your build, I recommend 3 different armor sets. There's the new armor sets that release with the Warbond that have the rock solid passive. This will prevent you from being knocked down or ragdolled while you're using the Maxigun, thus letting you truck a couple of hits and just keep on spraying. So that's pretty useful. There's also the engineering kit armor passive or the fortified armor passive. This will give you reduced recoil when you're crouched or prone by an additional 30%, and that will make your Maxigun even more accurate. And then the third option is the peak physique armor passive, and this will make your movements a lot more responsive and will make the weapon feel a lot snappier. So I recommend the fortified or the engineering passive for controller, and then the peak physique for mouse and keyboard if you want to have better weapon control for the Maxigun. And since I mentioned the new rock solid armor passive, let's go over some of the things that this passive can prevent, such as the Overseer's swing attack with their staff. Normally that will knock you down and ragdoll you, and then normally they'll just double tap you. By the time you stand back up, they'll just swing a second time and insta kill you. So with this armor passive, the Overseer swings just no longer affect you. It will also prevent the back blast from the rocket turrets from knocking you over, which is pretty nice if you like to use the rocket turret. And my personal favorite thing that it can prevent is the stalker tongue attacks. So normally the tongue attack will just send you flying, knock you down, and then the smaller bugs will just tear you to shreds. Well, now stalkers are not as big of an issue when you're using this rock solid armor set. Next, I want to go over a few things about the double freedom shotgun that I found was pretty useful in my gameplay. For example, they're really good at taking out the cognitive destructor nodes when you're facing the Illuminate and you're trying to take out that cognitive disruptor tower. I also recommend using it in the volley mode, since most things that you're going to try to kill are going to require you to do it in 2 shots anyway. So when I'm facing smaller enemies like the small bugs and stuff, I will put it in the single fire mode. Then if I'm facing those medium tier enemies like Automaton Devastators or Overseers or anything like that, I like to keep it in volley mode. So in volley mode, on average, it will 3-shot kill a flesh mob, which is pretty good. It can also 2 to 3-shot kill impalers if you shoot them in the face. It will either 2-shot or 1-shot kill a Hulk if you shoot it in the back. It will 1-shot kill spewers if you shoot them in the sack. It will 1-shot kill stalkers, so it'll just mow through stalkers with ease. And if you're facing the Illuminate Overseers, it will 1-shot kill them if you manage to shoot them in the face. Now, when I was testing out the Double Freedom Shotgun, I liked pairing it with the Guard Dog K9, the one that has the arc thrower, and I found it was pretty useful because with the arc thrower, it will go and briefly stun all of those enemies, and then while those enemies are stunned, that will give you enough time to finish everything off. So I was running around facing the automatons, the Guard Dog was taking out all of the smaller stuff for me, and then that way I could focus on the medium enemies like the Devastators with my shotgun. And then, like I mentioned earlier in the video, it does a great job at blowing up the automaton vents now, so if you come across a tank or a cannon or any of those bot factory little turrets, it will easily blow them up. Next up is the Defoliation Tool. Now, I think the Defoliation Tool is fun. I know it's got a lot of mixed reactions in the community, but this thing is probably the hardest hitting melee weapon in the game currently, especially if you pair it with the Peak Physique armor or the new Rock Solid armor, because those armor sets give you an additional 100% melee damage. And the cool thing about the Defoliation Tool is that you can use it to kill a lot of things in the environment. So you can use it to destroy things like the Spore Tower mushrooms or the Shrieker nests. You can also use it to destroy obstacles that are in your way, like fences or rocks, so it's going to be very useful in those cave missions underground. And then, of course, you can use it to break open the loot crates that you find in the environment as well. You can also use it to destroy bot fabricators. If you hold down the trigger long enough, it will eventually blow up the fabricator, and you can use it to blow up the Illuminate ships as well. And I tried to use it on the bug holes just in case, and unfortunately it does not blow up bug holes. Now, when it comes to fighting enemies with it, I think this thing is really neat because it will stun lock enemies in place while you cut at them. So, for example, if you're trying to take on an automaton Hulk, you're going to want to aim for probably the legs. I found that that's one of the fastest ways to kill them. Now, you can hit it in the back and try to aim for its eye, but that does seem to take a little bit longer. And if for some reason the Hulk gets unstun locked, it is going to punch you in the face and pretty much insta-kill you. And it can also stun lock War Striders as well, which is really neat because War Striders are a major pain in the butt. Just go straight for the legs and it will stun lock the War Strider in place, which will completely prevent it from attacking you. And then if you're going up against a charger, I recommend wedging yourself in between the 2 legs on the side of the charger, because if you manage to wedge yourself between the 2 legs of the charger, your swings are going to be more likely to stun lock it in place. Now, you can go straight for the butt or try to just take on one of the legs of the charger. You will break right through the armor plating, and then you can attack the exposed flesh that's underneath the armor plating, but it's got the same issue as the Hulk, where if for some reason it gets unstunned by your attack, it's just going to hit you with a melee attack and just insta-kill you. So that's why I recommend getting in between the two legs, because you have a better chance of keeping it stunned. And then it can also pretty easily kill impalers. If the impaler's face is exposed, you can go straight for the face, but if you can't reach the impaler's face, it's probably quicker just to go for its back legs and just cut off the back leg of the impaler. Now, some stratagems that I recommend pairing with the Defoliation Tool are the Shield Generator Pack. This will give you some additional cover and help you tank a few additional hits. Since you're trying to get up in the face of all these enemies, you are going to be taking a lot of damage, and the shield can help negate some of that. Another thing I like to pair with it is the Warp Pack, because as you're chopping up enemies, if you start to get surrounded, you can just warp out of the group to safety. So the Warp Pack is pretty cool. The Defoliation Tool is great against those medium tier enemies, so it will completely annihilate Overseers and Devastators if you hit them in the stomach. So get into the habit of just diving towards the enemy and swinging mid-dive. That way you kind of get two birds with one stone. You're diving and swinging, so you're not only taking out the enemy with one swing, but you're also taking less damage while you're diving. And finally, I want to talk about the Guard Dog Hot Dog. Now, there isn't too much to say about it. It's pretty straightforward. You just put it on and it goes out and shoots things. So I don't really have too much of a breakdown for it, but I do want to say that it pairs really well with gas. So if you use the spear gun, it does a great job with the spear gun. And I was, believe it or not, getting some use out of the sterilizer. I know a lot of people hate the sterilizer, and it's become basically a meme at this point with how bad it is. But the sterilizer was doing an okay job of confusing the enemies, and then this guard dog would swoop in and finish off the rest. Same with the spear gun. You either shoot the spear gun at the ground so that the enemies that are chasing you just run straight into the cloud of gas, or you just shoot it directly into the enemy, and then while they're confused, the guard dog hot dog will go in and finish them off. And that is going to do it for everything in today's video. Now, I didn't forget about the new GL21 1-2 assault rifle, the one with the grenade launcher. I'm trying to work on its own individual video where I level it up and I go over all the attachments. So, and that weapon's pretty straightforward. It's got light armor penetration, and it's got that side grenade launcher that you can use for closing like bug holes and bot factories and stuff like that in a pinch. So I don't really have too many tips for it per se, but I'll go more in depth with that weapon when I fully level it up. But that is going to do it for everything in today's tips and tricks video. If it helped you out, then consider giving me a thumbs up, and if you're new here, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future videos. Let me know what your favorite thing about this latest update is down in the comment section down below, and that is going to do it for me, and I will talk to you all in the next video.